How's the lighting setup? Is it okay? Is everything looking good? Am I sounding all right? Right, yo. X-Pro V, X100V, dude. Right, should we do this? Let's get on this. Let's do the intro. Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Leo back here for yet another video. And today we're going to be talking about and revisiting the X100V. And what I mean by revisiting, I mean like giving a 2-month user experience, a 2-month review. Do I have new cons? Do I have new pros? The more things I like about it and the more things I hate about it. Let's talk about all that good stuff. And yeah, let's jump into it. So collectively, I've had this camera for about nearly 2 months. And within those 2 months, my opinion, my kind of first thoughts and all that good stuff has kind of changed. But don't worry, I still love this camera. So you guys just want to know that if I still love it or not and it's worth picking up. Hell yes it is. It's such a good camera and it's definitely worth picking up. But if you want to know why, as always, stick around and I'm gonna tell you why. So like I said, I've had this camera for about, coming up to 2 months now. Every time I've gone out to shoot street, I've always taken this camera first and my film camera second. I have been shooting a lot more film recently, so you guys are gonna see that, hence why I started developing my own rolls and all that good stuff. But we're gonna be talking about my primary shoot photography camera, which is the X100V, and whether it's still worth picking up and whether it's worth investing in this camera, this little beast of a camera. So let's call this the 2-month-ish kind of review for the X100V. If you guys are interested in seeing what my first thoughts before you continue watching this video, click the link there. I think I'm getting used to this. I think it's there. Click that link. That'll show you the initial thoughts, first thoughts of the camera. Check that video out. Come back here and see what 2 months did in terms of opinion. So let's go. So as always, as I'm explaining through the pros and cons and the opinions and all that good stuff, I'm gonna throw images up on the screen so you guys can just see what I mean when I'm talking about like certain particular parts. So I'm just gonna sporadically just insert pictures there, the whole frame, just so you can see the results I got from shooting with this camera. Let's go through 5 things that I think this camera really nailed and I'm super happy about. And number 1, and for me, is one of the biggest reasons I picked up this camera, and I'm happy that the main reason I picked up this camera is the reason why I'm happy about picking up this camera. And that is the size. I literally picked this up and go everywhere with it. This is the camera that I'll grab for. I'll grab for this instantly. I have no hesitation in thinking like, oh, I'm going out, it's gonna be raining, or I'm going out, I won't be taking photos dedicated this day. But I still pick this up and go out with it because it's such a compact camera that it's just easy to chuck in a bag. I'm a bag kind of guy, so I end up going everywhere with my bag. UK's had a heat wave, so I haven't been wearing a jacket, but if I was wearing like a rain jacket or any kind of overcoat, this will be going with me as well. It would just go in my pocket or I chuck it in a bag, simple as. Apart from a camera like the GR3 or GR series in general, this is probably the best compact digital camera you can pick up. It hits so many of the right boxes, and form factor is definitely one of them. So compact size, definitely a win. The next things I'm going to talk about, which is another obvious when it comes to this camera, is the image quality. The image quality out of this camera is amazing. It's so good. I'm so surprised at how sharp some of the images are. When I shoot 60th of a second and I capture that perfect like focus and I take a shot, it's always super sharp, but not in a digital way. It looks so organic, if that makes sense. It doesn't look like film, don't get me wrong, it doesn't look like film, but it looks super cinematic. I think that's the best way to put it. It looks like I've keyed a frame from a movie. So image quality from this camera is top notch, top of the pops. Next thing are the simulations that come in this camera. Wow. I've shot less raw images with this camera than I have with any other camera I've used. I've shot so many JPEGs with this camera because the classic negative profile, just so good, so buttery, so contrasty. It's like the perfect profile that I love, just the look of. It's amazing. So the JPEGs that come out of this camera, sometimes they're just so good that I don't even edit them. I just throw them straight onto Instagram, or I throw them onto my website, because the quality that comes from this in terms of the JPEGs, so good. I do shoot RAW and JPEG, but the times I hardly ever need to edit the RAWs because the JPEGs look so good. Like the other day I went out, and this camera has this cool feature where if you shoot JPEG only, you can use the focusing ring to kind of crop in the 4K image. So it crops in the sensor from like a 24 megapixel to a 16 megapixel and onwards. The more you zoom in, it's like a 3-step zoom. But still, generally I shoot RAW and JPEG just in case, so you never be too careful. But I've not had one bad image from this. Well, apart from images I don't like, but you know what I'm saying. The images that I do like that I've shot with this, spot on. Another thing I love about this camera is the look and the weight. It's super light and it just looks amazing, especially when you kit the camera out with all the accessories that you want, like the square hood, the tiny red dot on the top, the thumb grip, the really nice wrist strap. It just makes the process of shooting this camera so much more enjoyable. Gives you that sense of owning a Leica M, even though you definitely haven't got a Leica M. You just enjoy shooting with this camera so much more, just purely because it looks beautiful. The sharp edges, the compactness, just the small features like the flip screen. It's just all works in tangent to make this an overall amazing camera to shoot with. So looks wise, it definitely is up there with some of the best looking cameras that have ever been made. It's so stealth, it's beautiful. Last but not least, let's hit it with the features that come packed into this. Not only does it have amazing film simulations, but it's also jam-packed with all these amazing features for video and photo. So this can easily be a second cam, B cam, it can be an A cam if you want it to be. It's amazing. It has a 35mm equivalent lens and it stops down all the way to f2, so you can get a nice blurry background. It's overall an amazing video camera that you can use for serious work. And that's where I'm gonna end it on the pros. I think there's nothing really more to say about how good this is. The battery life's good, everything is good. But rolling on from the pros of the video features, I'm gonna now roll that into my first con, and that's from personal use. This is not a problem with the camera, this is just probably me. But my first con with this camera is that I don't use it for video at all. I've used it once or twice to shoot video with, but I find it very difficult if I'm doing handheld shots because the lack of stabilization is so apparent in this camera that it makes it very difficult to shoot handheld shots. Even if you're stabilized super well, unless you're using a gimbal or you put it on a tripod, you're not gonna have steady shots and it's not gonna look as good and as clean as you want it to. This can be an amazing B camera, but for an A camera, I find it very difficult to capture those particular shots. You can probably do a whole narrative film with this purely because most of your narrative filmmaking gear is static. But if you're trying to get some handheld shots, you're gonna get that jitter because it's so light and there's no counterweight to it. So keep that in mind when you're picking up this camera for mainly using it as video. It will mainly be your photography camera. Well, that's what I feel. I've only shot photos of this, and when I have done video, I've never really used it. But yeah, other than that, the feature's still amazing. The image looks good, just not for handheld shots. So the next con I have about this camera, and again, I'm gonna repeat it to the end of the world, the focus by wire system. I think I have fully decided from hearing everyone's feedback, reading all the comments, I would much rather have a bigger lens than have focus by wire, 100%. I would sacrifice the compact size of this lens to have a proper focus ring, just like the Leica Q. The Leica Q has a proper focusing ring, proper everything, but it's fixed. And is that much bigger than this? Not really. So I would definitely sacrifice the lens being a bit bigger, just a bit bigger, to house a proper focusing system, because having that proper focus system is just something that I dream of on this camera, because this has the ability to be as close as a film camera you can get. Focus, focus, no focus by wire, no more focus by wire. The next thing we're going to talk about this camera is probably going to be the price point. Yes, this is an amazing photo camera. Yes, it has amazing video features. Yes, it looks amazing. Yes, it has all these great things in it. But is this better than the X-T3? Is it better than the X-T30? I don't think it is, in terms of what you get for your money. You're buying this for the look. You're buying this for the lens, the look, the compactness. There are going to be people that say, hey, look, you get a lens already with it, so if you add the lens on top with that, it balances out. But the fact that you can only use this lens, it does limit this camera. I think a perfect price point for this camera would probably be about $700 to $800. The price the X100F is now would probably be the perfect price for this camera. Spending about $1,200, $300 on this camera, it is quite a steep price. If I didn't get a crazy discount off this camera, I probably wouldn't have bought it, purely because I couldn't justify spending that much money where I could just spend an extra couple of hundred to get the X Pro 3. Probably a con on this end regarding, I don't know, price point. But again, I can't take away from it. It definitely delivers with image. It definitely delivers with features. But that's just my personal preference when it comes to versatility. Versatility for me is what bumps up a price. Limitations should bring down a price. Personally, that's what I think. I don't think I'm gonna keep this to 5 negative things about this camera, because I honestly can't think of many negative things about this camera. But yeah, this... Let's just throw a random one in there, like accessories. Accessories for this camera can be very expensive, they can be very cheap. This square hood, it's a very expensive accessory. But do I regret buying it? Hell no, because it does make this camera look absolutely gorgeous. Look at it, look at it. Yeah, I think that is it about the pros and cons of this camera. There's nothing more that I can probably say about the pros and cons. But let's talk about the usability of this camera. Going out, picking it up, shooting, it's never been easier. You can customize the buttons exactly the way you want. Like here I've got the ND filter. I just click that button there. I've customized this to make it optimum for me doing street photography. The color of this camera makes it a lot easier for people not really to notice you. I've recently been shooting with my Canon A1, and the sound of the shutter on that, the size of that, definitely makes people notice. But with this one, the leaf shutter that you can't even hear, like let me take an image right now. That's as loud as you're gonna get. It's not gonna get any louder than that. Yeah, it's so good. The focus is really, really good. It's so funny, although it has like really good focusing, like autofocus points, I still use the old fashioned single point focus and kind of like adjust where I need to. I think that's just me having bad habits from the X100S, making the most of a slow camera. But yeah, it's an amazing camera. It definitely helps me get shots that I wouldn't get with any other camera. The screen definitely helps. I've so many times just walked around like this and just started taking photos without people even noticing. And I've gotten photos that I would probably never have the courage to take. Amazing camera, definitely worth considering this camera, especially if it's gonna be your main shooter. 100%, it's such a good camera. It is expensive, but if you look over that, this is gonna be your A-game camera, the only one you can take photos with. I don't shoot with anything else. Definitely worth getting this camera. To be fair, my kind of judgment is, if you're gonna spend money on something that you're gonna use all the time, it's never a waste of money, because you're getting your use and your worth out of it. So keep that in mind when you're picking up a camera. Makes the process of buying a camera and makes it justifiably easier to buy one. So use that as a bad habit or a good advice. Take it as you will. Now, I think one of the biggest questions, if I could go back and pick up either the X100V or the X Pro 3, which one would I get now? And I would personally say, although I have been thinking a lot about it in regards to, sometimes I just want to pick up the 56 f1.2, I think I would still go for the X100V, purely because this is the setup that I use for my street photography. Anything else is kind of just a wishful thinking. Like the 56f1.2, how much will I really use it? Probably not that much. Or will I be doing portraits? Yeah, but I use my X Pro 1, which is still an amazing camera, and I will be doing another video going out shooting that, comparing the experience shooting that with the experience shooting this. So I hope you guys are looking forward for that video. But yeah, I think I would still get this camera. It is an amazing camera. It is, for what it does, it is fantastic, and I've definitely been happy with this purchase, and it's definitely not let me down. Do you have this camera? Let me know what you think of it. Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? Let's start a conversation and discussion in the comments below. So guys, that's been my 2-month follow-up review on the X100V. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it gave you some insight. If you haven't bought it yet, I hope it gives you a sort of idea what you're getting yourself into, or if you're gonna like it, or maybe you might go, no way, I'm getting the X Pro 3, it's a way better investment. At least I've given you that kind of like help, I'd like to think. So yeah guys, if you enjoyed that video, make sure you hit that like button. If you think someone else would enjoy that video, consider sharing it to them. If you haven't already, why not subscribe to my channel? Because every week I make videos about photography, filmmaking, film photography, and all that good creative stuff. And don't forget to hit that notification bell, because you know, that is the coolest thing to do. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed today's video again. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, keep creating, keep doing what you love, stay safe, focus on my hand, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.